All right, good afternoon. This is State of Florida versus Stephen Testa with multiple cases before the court.
Yo, what's poppin', man? It's your boy E.I. the King, and this is the Incarceration Podcast, where I talk about prison, pre, post, and present, and how I share that everything that I experienced throughout my incarceration has forever transformed my life. This is the incarceration. Ah! Freaking weird, right? So listen, a lot of times when people think about prison, they just get this, picture that they see from TV and movies. They think of murder, they think of gang banging, they think of drugs, they think of rape, they think of punks, homosexuality, all that. And don't get me wrong, of course, all that goes down in the chain gang. But what TV, Hollywood, movies, TV shows don't show you is the amount of fun that you can possibly have in the chain gang. I mean, yo, listen, this be real. I mean, of course, all that chaos, the hostile environment, like, yo, that's an ever present reality, of course. You got a whole bunch of broken convicts, broken men. A lot of them got a lot of time, life sentences, ain't going home, or years upon years, whatever. So yeah, that hurt, man. But also, think these same people, myself included, like, yo, day in, day out, calendar after calendar after calendar after calendar, are stuck in the same dorm, on the same rack, or getting transferred to another prison, but the same lifestyle. So, I mean, what other option is there? Like, yo, you're going to be miserable your entire, like, incarceration, your entire life in prison if you're a lifer, if you got an elbow. You know what I mean? Or if you however many years you're doing, you're gonna be miserable the whole time. And don't get me wrong, man. Sometimes, like, yo, some people choose to do their time like that, bro. Like, some guys, like, who got elbows, like life sentences, like, yo, you can see it on their face. Like, you can tell, like, they hurt. You know what I mean? Maybe they just fell, they just went to prison, or, they're just going through a rough time. But some people, they're just pessimistic, whatever. Like, you can see they got, like, you can see, like, their life has been taken from them. They ain't got no hope. But then there's other guys, like, yo, you wouldn't even know, because not everybody goes around telling them how much time they got. But some guys, like, yo, like, you wouldn't even know bro had a life sentence, because, yo, he's always laughing and clowning and always, like, in a great mood. And the reason why I say that is because when you're doing a lot of time, bro, there's a balance. You know what I mean? Of course, you don't want to be overly friendly, but at the same time, bro, like, not everybody's in savage gangster mode at all times. Man, we be having a blast in the chain gang, bro. I'm talking about, because I didn't spend the majority of my adult life, the majority almost of my life incarcerated. Man, some of my, like, funniest, craziest memories are while I was in the chain gang, while I was incarcerated. And that scream at the first is a story that I'm gonna give you an example of. All right, so it's me, my dog Z Fetty, man, who died, man. Rest in peace, my dog Z, who's in the kingdom. I'm gonna see him when I go home with Christ Jesus, man. My other dog Domi. So we all were in the same dorm together, and we always hung out, man. We were the homies, and we normally would, like, walk the chow together, just laughing, clowning, freestyle, rapping, doing whatever, just hanging out. So a lot of times we go to chow together and we just walk and hang out in line, whatever. So there was this sergeant, Puerto Rican dude. Dude was not friendly whatsoever. Like, he didn't talk to anybody, and he just got it just because he was the one that happened to be at the flap. So we're walking, to the chow hall, and we came up. I think I came up with this idea. I'm a goofball, man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm obviously already, like, got screws loose in my head. I'm just crazy, goofy, funny, whatever. But especially, like, in prison. Like, I mean, I don't think I really, of course, I'm mature, but I've always been a goofball. And maybe just all the amount of time I did in prison, just really finding myself as a man, being comfortable with who I am, maybe not experiencing much life experience in society, stunted my maturity, was maybe a little bit more immature. So I was always clowning and just being a goofball and I'm playing around. So I came up with this idea and I'm gonna explain it to you in a story. So as we're walking in the line, while going in the chow, like everybody's in line because you got to think like, yo, in the chow hall, they don't have unlimited amount of food. It's like a restaurant. It's all trash, but they got a limited amount of food, so they only cook so much, and they estimated for how many people are on the pound or at that prison. So you're only allowed one tray. You know what I mean? Unless like you jump the wall, because like they try to protect the line. You know what I mean? So everybody's walking the line from the dorm going to the chow hall, and they got police literally out there like observing chow for several reasons. People just walking to chow and back, and for several reasons. One is because they're making sure for the safety of like the inmate population, stuff ain't popping off. Just trying to keep everything secure, control movement, things like that. But another big part of it was because they just didn't want people doubling back in line. You know what I mean? Going back, getting more trays, more trays. So where even when you walk into the chow hall, there's like a wall, that's not goes all the way up to the roof, but it's like, like a ledge that goes up to like your chest. When you first walk in, that guides people to the flap. You know what I mean? To where it's like a concrete wall. There's, inmate workers behind this wall and they're putting like food on the trays and they're pushing it down the line. So all you can see, is the tray coming out the window. That's another story. We can go on a whole nother episode about explaining the kitchen. The reason why they got the wall so you can't see your homeboy, behind, the glass. Like, hey man, load me up, bro. 2 chickens, they're putting stuff under the trays, whatever. Whole nother story behind that. So you walk in the chow hall and over time, like, bro, any convict, anybody doing a mass amount of time, bro, you're gonna learn how to finesse the system. So people would always jump the wall or slide back in line to where they're running out of food and they gotta cook more food. That happens all the time. Especially if it's a good meal, people are doubling back, tripling back. They're not even hungry no more. They're taking food back to the dorm or they're selling it. But a lot of police obviously it's part of their job. It's trying to patrol and supervise and make sure people don't double back and get more trays. So they even started doing this thing in prison to where they would have like a laptop at the flap and they would have little scanners and it took freaking forever, and they would have to scan every ID. You know what I mean? And that's why they got the barcode there so they could scan it. So if you try to double back in line and make you scan your ID, they're gonna see that they already fed you. So people would try to slide in line with somebody else's ID or say they forgot it in the dorm or whatever finesse, they would try to get over with on the police to get another tray. So there's this sergeant in line, this Puerto Rican dude is not friendly, don't talk to nobody, don't talk to the police, he ain't friendly with nobody. He's just always quiet. But the only time you do see him talking is when he's yelling. He's super aggressive, real short, kind of fat, shades on his eyes. So we had came up with this idea. So as me, and we purposely had separated in line. So I was in front, and then like there's a couple people back, and then Z Fetty, and then a couple people back, and then Domi. So I walk up first. So here's the wall, and then right behind like the wall where the flap is, and then here's the line, and then here's the ledge that keeps people out from doubling back in the line, and this is where the police is standing with his laptop and the scanner. So right when he scans me, you know what I mean, I grab my tray. He's standing right across from the flap. He's watching everybody get in the trap after he scans them. So right whenever I get my tray from the flap, I don't even look at him. I start walking, I take a step, and I just grab my tray and I go holding my stomach with my other hand. And I stand up and just keep walking like nothing happened, and just go walk over to the water fountain, the juice machine, and get some water. So I don't look, but I can tell in my peripheral that the sergeant's like, what the heck just happened? So I don't even look at him. I just keep walking. And keep in mind, all this is planned. So a couple of people go by, and then my dog Z Fetty come up. He scanned his ID. He grab his tray, walk, take a step, and goes, grabbing the stomach, keep walking. A couple people, my dog Domi comes up, grab his tray, same thing. So everybody in like the chow sees what we're doing. They're laughing. They see that we're just clowning. But Some people are just ignoring it, but the police, the sergeant's like, what the heck was that about? So we're just dying laughing. The simplest, most dumb, stupid things, that we would just come up with being creative. We just thought that was hilarious. But it was funny because we're dying laughing. We're all sitting out eating together, just dying laughing, thinking it's funny. And like we're hearing from everybody else, like from like Z or Domi, like his expression when we were doing it, we're just dying laughing. So from that point forward, like anytime we would see him on the pound, because he normally I think worked at like the main unit, but sometimes when he would come to the annex where we were at, we made it our business. And I would even be by myself. You know what I mean? I'd be like walking in line like to the medical, going up to medical, and he would just be off like in front of his dorm, making sure like people like slide in the dorms. And I'd just be walking the line. You gotta walk in lines, you know what I mean? It's super controlled movement. So as I'm walking the line, he'd be in the back of a dorm. I'm walking. And this is probably like weeks after this. You know what I mean? But we had made it like a pact, we had made it our business. Like, yo, every time we see him, we gonna do that. And just keep doing that as like a pattern. So I'm walking by myself now. Don't even got my homies around me. I'm just walking to medical and I see him on my peripheral. I'm like, I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him. So he's like standing 2 feet off in the grass. Right when I get right in front of him, I'm like, ah, ah, and just get up and just keep walking. And this stupid, dumb stuff like that, bro. There's countless stories that I can think of to where, man, like, yo, like, what's the other option? You know what I mean? We just gonna lay around on our rack and just be miserable. Like, nah, bro. Like, we made bad decisions. That ended us up in prison. And of course, number one, discover who I am as a man through faith in Jesus, grow and find my identity in Christ, become a better man. Get educated, use my time wisely, work out. Get swole. But also too, man, like just have some fun and clown in the midst of the chaos. And there's like boundaries with like clowning too, though, because a lot of times, like in prison, it's like it can be a bad look to be overly friendly or playing a lot because some people don't know, like, no, to me, like there's a difference between like clowning like that or like playing. Like I never really play with people. Like people be playing games with people, you know what I mean? They be setting each other up and doing these dumb stupid games with each other to where like it leads into conflict because this person don't feel like playing this day but he's playing, so normally like it'd be people that I'm close with that would just clown and doing harmless stuff about. So there's like a balance and a boundary like in prison to where you don't want to be kind of known as a guy who's always playing because then maybe somebody might want to like joke around and play with you and you really ain't cool with them like that. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean? It can be a great area. But here's another example, man. Um, man, I was at work release and I got sent back from work release because I went to the beach. It's a whole nother story. Just bear with me. I'm gonna tell that story one day. Just keep with me for the purpose of the story. So I get sent back to prison. At this point in time, I was a youthful offender. They snatched my YO. I'm in confinement. They sent me to adult prison for the first time. So I'm in confinement for maybe I think I had what 90 days. I think I had 60 days for the deviation from work release, and I got like another DR while I was in confinement for disobeying a verbal order, not being in my Class A blues during count time. So I'm in confinement, and a lot of times in confinement, like part of the sleeping schedule that you just naturally adapt is just sleeping all day and staying up all night. For some reason, it seems like the nights go by faster. So I stay up all night and I sleep all day. Um, and there was this dude across the hall from me, and like we stay up at night and we sign language, be laughing and climbing through the door. At this point in time, I don't think I had a cellie in confinement. And the police, I'm on the very top cell, close to the shower. There's like a dorm like this. They got doors all the way at the bottom, all the way at the top. I'm the very last one. So at nighttime, the police come around and they do, I think it's like a 30-minute check. And it's like a count every hour. So when they do the 30-minute check, the police just walk by and they put the lights in every window. They just walk the wing, put the lights in every window, make sure everybody's in there, nobody escapes. So I'm clown. I come up with this idea. I tell the dude what I'm gonna do. So I'm just being a goofball. So the police are walking around doing their check, putting the light in every cell. So I'm in the cell by myself. It's hot, no AC in Chain Gang. You know what I mean? Unless you're at a private institution. This one wasn't private, so it's hot. So I'm in my boxers, which is a norm. So, in the cell you got, two bunks, one's on top of each other, and you got a toilet, tiny cell. So I'm in the very back corner. So where if you're looking in the cell window, all you see is my back and I'm facing the corner. So I'm in the cell corner and I'm walking in the wall with my hands up. It looks like I'm just walking into the wall. So I do this purposely to look crazy with the police when he's doing his count. So he's walking by, he shines a light in the room. The light goes on me. I'm not looking back, but I can see the light like all around me. So he stops and he just watching me, and I'm just like walking into the wall, just walking right into the wall. So and he don't say nothing. He's just like playing possum. He's just watching me. So I'm walking into the wall. Walking in, I'm like, dang, I gotta ride this one out. I'm just walking into the wall. So he's watching maybe like 2 minutes. So finally he goes, inmate, inmate, what are you doing, inmate? I don't stop. I keep walking in the wall. So I'm like, if I'm gonna climb, I'm gonna go all out. I just keep walking in the wall. He's like, inmate, inmate, what are you doing? What are you doing, inmate? I'm walking in the wall. I don't stop. So now he's looking at, like in the cell with the flashlight from the window. He's looking everywhere, looking around. He don't know what the heck's going on. So I just keep walking on the wall. He's pounding on the door. Inmate, come here right now, inmate. So I just keep walking in the wall. I don't stop. So he just leaves eventually after like 5 minutes, yelling, banging. I don't turn around. I keep walking in the wall. So he leaves. He goes out, back in the cellar port. So I go back on the glass on the window and I look to my dog across the window and he's dying laughing because he's watching everything. He's crying. He's like, bro. So we're just dying laughing. So we're just joking about it. But every 30 minutes when the same police, the same officer walks around and does his check, looking in all the windows, I go right back to the corner. So in his mind, he's thinking I've been doing this nonstop. He don't know like I'm playing a game with him. So, listen, in prison, man, there's a lot of crazy people. They have specific psych institutions, to where like a lot of people, man, they're just trying to finesse the system and get psych drugs to get high or sell, or they're junkies. But there's a lot of people who got real deal psychological issues. There's a lot of crazy people in the prison. So this dude, the police definitely thinks I'm crazy. So the second time it comes around, same thing. I'm in a corner, walking in the wall. So the second time he's watching me, yelling, beating on the door. But this time it doesn't stay as long. He leaves. But I'm still walking the whole time in the corner, in my boxers. Don't look back at him. So this goes on for hours. You know what I mean? He probably checks 5, 6 times, however many times, every 30 minutes to the point where he don't even look at me no more. So now I have to switch it up because it's not fun no more. So now after like the 5th or 6th time, however many times it was, now when he's walking by doing this check, now I'm facing the window, but I'm in the middle of the cell and I'm jumping up and down, hitting my head like this. Just like doing like some type of jumping jack, just hitting myself. So he comes by, he looks at me and he's like, inmate, what are you doing, inmate? I just keep doing it. Just doing this, trying not to laugh as hard as I can. He's just watching me. I'm just running in place, hitting my heads in my hand. And he's watching me, yelling, hitting the cell. Inmate, what are you doing? Inmate, come here. So he finally leaves. We're dying laughing to the point where I do that a few times. There's no interest no more. He just keeps walking. So then like later on in the night, the door pops and you can hear the door pop from your bunk. So I get up and I look and it's the LT coming around. The LT does his round, I think like once a night. So when the LT comes in, the officer's coming out. So you see the officer stop the LT and I'm looking down and he's talking to the LT and then he begins to point up at my window. So I get off the glass real quick because I know he's telling the LT, the lieutenant, like, yo, you need to go check on that dude up there in the corner cell because he's freaking bugged out. He's walking the walls or hitting his hands on his head or whatever. So I'm like, screw this. I'm going in. I'm about to try the LT. I'm gonna get him too. So the LT's walking around and the LT, like, they only do the check once a night. You know what I mean? Confinement can be crazy. People flooding the cells. Beating the doors down, refusing to eat, going on hunger strikes. So the LTs kind of got to be a little bit more political because it's their responsibility if they're over that dormant confinement, whatever. So the LT's doing his rounds. So I'm finna get him. I'm bored. I think it's gonna be hilarious. So I hit him with the walking in the wall. So the LT's walking around. I go in a corner. Walking in the wall. So the LT, I think the officer was green. He probably was a rookie. He probably been in prison too long. The LT's older. Obviously, it takes you years to move up and rank. So the LT been around the block. So the LT a convict. The LT's done some time in prison working there. So you can't fool him. He ain't green. So he's playing possum on me. I'm walking in the wall. No exaggeration. He probably watches me for like a good 6 minutes, 7 minutes. Don't say nothing. just watching me, seeing if I'm like real deal crazy. So he's watching me, so I'm like, oh man, I gotta go Hollywood on him, So I'm just like, dang, what's he gonna do? So I'm walking in the corner for a long time. He's just watching me. And then finally, LT snaps. Don't, inmate, you better come to this freaking window right now. I keep walking. I'm like, dang, I'm about to get sprayed. so, so LT's pissed. You can tell he ain't playing. So then he opens the flap. Boom, because they feed they feed you through the flap with trays. So he's like, inmate, I'ma count to 3. You better come to this window right now, or I'ma open up this canister on you. And now I know that he can't just spray me with mace because I'm walking into the wall. But I don't want to get another DR. You know what I mean? I don't want to get in trouble more. I'm already doing 90 days in confinement. I don't want to get brought to the psych doctor. You know what I mean? I don't want these people in my chest. So, I have to find, I got to curl. I got to get out of this, but I can't show him that I'm playing. Yeah, I got to disobey his order. So while I'm walking to his wall, he opens the flappy screens. I stop and I just think real fast what I got to do now. I just got to play crazy and walk to the flap. So I stop. And I slowly just look back at him with the most crazy look I can. I go like this, go. So I just look back at him and I start pointing at the corner while I'm walking slowly to the window, whispering, spiders, spiders. And I got my back, hunched up, walking real slow to the flap, spiders, spiders. So I get close. He's like, what? What are you saying? I keep looking back, pointing at the corner. I'm like, spiders. He said, man, shut the heck up. Ain't no freaking spiders, man. Go lay down. So I slowly go in my bunk and I lay down. He leaves. I'm dying laughing. My homie across the hall dying laughing. But anyways, that's one. Those are 2 of a million stories that I could literally you just give descriptive explanations of that man, just doing so much time, bro. Like you got a crazy imagination and man, you just gotta have fun. Because the only other option is being depressed and miserable. And that's just not who I am as a person. Obviously, Christ transformed my life in prison, but I was still a goofball and I made the most of it. I made the best of it and I had a lot of good memories and just, funny times, in prison, like that. But speaking of, just doing a lot of time, I was thinking about the other day, um, just because I think I was talking to one of my dogs, my best friend, and I was mentioning like a time when we were kids, like when we were teenagers, a certain like story. And he really didn't remember it at first, which is normal. Sometimes people just have a bad memory and you got to be more descriptive and then like, okay, it'll come back to the remembrance. But like, yo, he really didn't remember it like that. But I remembered it super vividly. And the reason why that is because I noticed in prison, I didn't notice this for years. But I don't know if someone pointed it out to me, like an older convict, or if I figured it out myself. But yo, going to prison is like being frozen, like in time, kind of. And especially if you're doing a lot of time. And I say that in 2 ways. One, I mentioned it earlier. It's kind of like some people say, and I don't believe this is true. Some people say that when you go to prison, like you stop growing mentally from the age you were incarcerated at, like from the age you went in at. I don't believe that because there's life experience in prison, just like there is life experience in society. You're still freaking living. You still have relationships. You still have friendships, whatever, like not relationships, but relationships with people. You know what I mean? You're still experiencing life, but it's in prison. You may not have like free world society, real life experience when it comes to like careers and family and things like that. But you can still obviously mature, emotionally and mentally, even while in prison. Though it can be stunted, it can be limited, such as dating and women and things like that. But what I'm getting at, it's like being frozen when it comes to your past or just the past in general, right? So whenever I went to prison the first time at 18, I was supposed to be a senior in high school. So doing years in prison, my last memories of society, of free world, or whenever is when I was 18. When I wasn't in high school, I was still in the streets, selling dope, tripping, destroying my life. But those were my last memories. in society. So those memories were vivid and freshly imprinted on my mind. So I began to notice throughout the years in prison when I call some of my homies and I would ask about somebody. And they'd be like, man, I ain't hung out with him and freaking since high school. You know what I mean? I ain't heard, I don't know what's going on. It's been forever. Or I'll bring up stories like I was just mentioning, earlier, and they won't remember. But the reason why I remember them so vividly is because, like, in my mind, they're still brand new to me because those are my last memories of society. So, a lot of times, man, I would realize that, like, I would start reconnecting with people and I would like still maybe have a certain like a subconscious expectation of how they would um not so much view me, but how they would respond to me. Because like it's like an ex, for example. You know what I mean? Like, yo, I was in love with this girl in high school. Like she was like my first like love in high school, like my first huge crush. So even though it's been years, for me, like some of my last memories in society were this girl. So I still kind of have like strong feelings towards her to where like it could be possible that I might want to rekindle something. But like, yo, whenever I reached out to her and I finally talked to her, like, yo, she been over me like 7 years ago, because she done had, 5, 10, 20 boyfriends, however many since then. So she been over that. She don't even remember the stories or anything that I'm bringing up. And she's not doing it intentionally. It's just the fact that, yo, she's continued to live her life in society and has continued to build life experience that even though I'm still living life and I'm still having life experiences, it's not with these people that I had, relationships prior while I was in society. So I think a lot of times, man, that and I begin to notice that too, I think, with some of my homies coming home from prison. I can see and I can maybe hear at times, them maybe I haven't pinpointed that yet, but like especially the desire to get back with the ex, that's really common. You know what I mean? And bro, they just did like a lot of time. It's like, like bro, like I'm pretty sure she's married now. You know what I mean? Or even if she is single, then it's like, bro, like y'all was together a long time ago. But for them, it's like, nah, that was their last relationship, like real deal relationship. So for them, they've kind of maybe held on to some type of attachment or some type of emotional tie or a feeling or some type of subconscious hope that maybe there could be some type of rekindling just because for them that was their last relationship. If they fail to realize her, bro, it's been 20 years or it's been 10 years or it's been 5. You know what I mean? They long gone have been over you or me or us. Um so yeah, man, I think that's a crazy thought, you know what I mean, about people doing a lot of time. It's kind of like being, frozen in time, and so whenever you get, released or you begin to touch back, get back in touch with people in society, you're starting to realize that like, yo, everybody kind of forgot about you, bro. You know what I mean? And that is continue to live life. You can't blame them, you can't fault them for that, but they continue to experience life out here in society while we, those who are incarcerated, haven't. And that's been something that I've realized throughout my years of incarceration. So once again, man, listen, it's your boy E.I. the King, and this is the Incarceration Podcast, where I talk about prison, pre, post, and present, and how I share how everything that I experienced throughout my incarceration has forever transformed my life. This is the incarceration. So listen, man, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go ahead and go to my YouTube channel, man, the Incarceration Podcast. Subscribe. If you're watching from YouTube, go ahead and like, share this video, subscribe if you haven't. If you like this video, man, rate it from 1 to 10. Drop some fire emojis you think it's trash. Go ahead and put some trash bins in there. Share your perspective, share your experience. Any questions you got, anything that you want me to like just to talk on more in detail, or maybe something I haven't spoke on yet, man, let me know. I'm gonna check them out. I'm definitely gonna respond to the comments. And if it's a good enough topic and if I think it's fire, you know what I mean, then maybe I'll do a video about it, man. So until next time.